Kurt. Hello, Kurt from beautiful Hayden, Idaho. I guess so. It's summertime now, or spring, late spring. So it's a little warmer in Idaho. Hello, Peter from Massachusetts. Welcome. Hello, Doc, Queen, and Digi Millionaires, and, and brand advocates. Barry from Houston, Texas. Welcome, Barry. Mike from Nebraska. Charles from Silicaca, Alabama. Hardy from Ireland. Welcome. Marcia from North Dakota. Joy from Austin, Texas. Karen from in Olds, Alberta. And I'm guessing that's Olds, Alberta, Canada. Hi, Clive from Waxahachie. And I'm guessing.
Where was that?
Waxahachie, Texas.
All right.
Clive. Uh, and I guess Go Pack Go is Roger from Raleigh, North Carolina. What does that mean, Doc?
He must be an NC State Wolfpack fan.
Okay. Because I was like,
I don't know what he's excited about.
Well, he said Go Pack Go, so he's okay.
Okay, well,
It don't matter. He's excited.
when they do something worth, okay, all right. I'm a Tar Heel fan, so.
Anyway, I want to give a blanket welcome to all of our Digi Millionaires out here, and we are ready to hear some great information. We're at the bottom of the hour, and Doc is ready to give us some wonderful, exciting information right now.
He's a Green Bay Packer. He's saying that because he knows I'm a Pittsburgh Steeler. So he's saying go Pack go. You guys have probably the best quarterback talent-wise, but you just haven't surrounded him with anything. I'd like to see him with a real team because he is a phenomenal talent. He did kick our Katuti in the Super Bowl a few years ago. No, actually, we were being benevolent. That's what it was. We felt so bad for the Green Bay Packers, so we gave over the Super Bowl. We just hand-wrapped it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
So basically, the Packers, the Steelers are always feeling benevolent.
Listen at you with your Washington Redskins fan.
Well, I didn't say we were benevolent. I didn't say
that's because you guys haven't been relevant. That's why. We're not even in NFL football season, and we're already starting to have some fun. And I can't wait to pick on my Cowboy fans out there. All right, I'm ready, Queen.
It is in your hands. Okay.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to all of our Digi Millionaires, to all of our Cubers out there, our brand advocates, NetQube, and to our guests. We have opened up this webinar series for this month. Typically, this has been premium content. When we first introduced this webinar series last year, it was at $130 a month, and probably too cheap, really, for the information that we're sharing if you apply it. Now we've opened it up this month, so it's not costing you a dime. As we are still going through the integration process into NetQube. We were going to look to launch everything once we had our auto trade systems in place inside of NetQube, so that you could start getting cubes for that activity as well. However, got a call this week from Dan saying, "Hey, listen, why not just go on and launch Tier 1 as soon as we possibly can, and then come back with the auto trade system?" So looks like Digi Millionaires will be launching a little bit sooner than what I was thinking. Still a little ways away, days, maybe a week or two or what have you. But it is going to be closer than what I was originally thinking. We'll start off with Tier 1. Tier 1 will not have any auto trade element to it, but you will get tremendous value in Tier 1. Then ultimately Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4, those additional tiers will have auto trade systems tied to them. Auto trade meaning it will still be your account. That's important for you to understand. It'll be your account that you own, that you control. You're not sending your funds into Digi Millionaires. You're not sending in your funds into NetQube, NQ Holdings. No, you will set up your own trading account with the exchanges that we'll be using. We'll be using Binance for the auto trade systems. So you would have your own account with Binance. Doesn't cost you a dime to set that up. If you don't know how to do all that stuff, don't worry about it. By the time we get there, You will have video tutorials. Once we launch tier 1, you will have the video tutorials on how to do everything from going from cash to buying Bitcoin to sending it in, or Ethereum or Litecoin or what have you, into the exchange. We'll show you how to take a trade on your own with signals that we will have in tier 1. In tier 1, we will have signals. They just won't be auto traded. Okay. So we'll show you all of that stuff in video tutorials. And then we will have these live webinars that you'll have access to with tier 1. Okay, so let's go to work here. The first thing I want to do, and just so you know, once we launch tier 1, there's going to be a section of training that's going to be what we'll refer to likely as something like pre-lab training. We call these webinars a lab. That way, as new folks are coming aboard, we will be instructing them to, prior to coming to a live lab, to go through a series of training. So they'll already have their exchange set up. They would already know how to place a trade if indeed we we happen to take any trades on screen. Excuse me for coughing in your ears. Give me a moment. They would know how to do that. And then they would know the primary strategy or strategies that we are talking about. So we won't always have to revisit that at the beginning of every webinar so that we can maximize the time. Okay. But given that that is not available yet, I do want to just very quickly talk about this particular strategy that we're using. Tier 1, this will be our primary strategy. Also tier 2, which will be one of the auto trade systems. This will be the primary strategy in tier 2. So I want to go back. Give me a moment. Let's see if we can do something. Bear with me. Okay, hopefully that stays. All right, what you are looking at right now is a chart in the Forex of Bitcoin trading against the US dollar. What we use for our buy and sell signals with our primary assets is actually some software that we have tinkered with for this marketplace. And it is going to shoot out buy and sell signals based on a lot of data in the background. We're never going to share all of that. That's our secret sauce. But what I want you to see real quickly, when we're never going to try to teach you to read charts, but when you do see this, when you see a blue bar or a blue candle, that means that the market was up that day. Each one of these candles represents one trading day. And when you see a red candle, then the market was down that day. I want to take you back real quickly to, well, let's go about a year or so ago, okay? All right, so you'll see that the market, and hopefully you can see this right in here, okay? You can see my cursor, all right? So the market between May until about July-ish really went nowhere. You see that? Hopefully you can see that, okay? Market really went nowhere. And then market started to take off. Now this is a chart on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin being the bellwether of the market. Okay. As a matter of fact, if we were to go to coinmarketcap.com, and if you have not been going here, this is a site that you want to get used to going to on a daily basis. Coinmarketcap.com. You'll see where it says BTC dominance. What that means is Bitcoin, if you look at the entire market cap, if you took every Digi asset there is, all right, took all of the available supply, what they call the circulating supply, that would be the number of Bitcoins there are, the number of ETH tokens there are, the number of XRP or Ripple tokens there are. If you added all the assets, all the tokens, all the coins, multiplied it times their current market price, you would get what's called a market cap. In the stock market, the way they determine what the market cap is of a particular company is they take the number of shares of stock times the current price of the stock, and that gives them their market cap. So like Apple is approaching $1 trillion market cap, as an example, okay? Well, Bitcoin has a market cap of 115 billion. If you were to add all the assets in the marketplace and their market cap, that comes up to 286. So you can see that Bitcoin, 40% of this entire space right now is in Bitcoin. 40% of the entire Digi market is in Bitcoin. Okay? So Bitcoin is definitely the bellwether. If Bitcoin is going up, then typically she'll bring the rest of the market up with her. She's going down, she'll bring the rest of the market down with her, typically. All right. Now, not necessarily in a day or two, but, over a stretch of a period of a few trading days. Okay. All right. So now, if we come back here last year, you can see that the market, let's call it Bitcoin, wasn't doing anything. And that's about where we are right now, is the markets aren't doing very much of anything. The volatility is very low, which means we're not getting a big variance in prices from my low of the day to the high of the day. That tends to happen in the traditional market, stock market, Forex market. That tends to happen over the summertime. A lot of the reason that is because a lot of the big traders, they take summer off, or, they're vacationing or what have you. What I want you to see is there was a big boom in the market starting in September. All right, you can see how Bitcoin just went up and went up and went up, and it did have some dips, but it just went up, and it went to heaven. This was a very strong bull market run, very strong. Okay. Now, what we've seen in 2018, from the peak of the market as it relates to Bitcoin, the peak was December 17th of last year, when she hit her all-time high close to 20,000. I'll make this bigger now. Okay, so this is December 17th of last year, and you can see that we've had a bear market. Okay, you can see, give me a moment. Give me a moment, I'm sorry. Oh, well, I'm not going to worry about the lines here. All right, but you can see she's been going down and down and down and down. And she did, finally, she came up, but she's still been headed down. Overall, can I get rid of this? This is getting on my nerves now. All right, so overall, what has the market been doing since she hit her peak December 17th? She's been coming down. So most of 2018, she's been in a bear market. Well, you have to approach trading differently in a bear market than you would in a bull market. Okay? The market has changed. The character of the market has changed so far this year. And so we have to consider that in our trading strategy. So our primary strategy is to be defensive in nature right now. To be defensive in nature. We want to defend our Digi value. So what we're doing is in the Forex, and we've traded in some form or fashion since 1999 in the stock market. Then we picked up the Forex in 2003, okay? The strategy that fit my trading style the best in the Forex was and is a trend trading strategy, which means that we're looking to trade the trends. There's a saying in trading that says the trend is your friend. So we don't want to swim upstream. All right, we want to swim with the trend. And so what happens is our software is looking for trends. All right. And so when we are in a downtrend, we want to be out of the market. When we're in the downtrend, we want to be out of the market. Now, in other markets like the stock market or like the Forex, there's a way to actually stay in the market but play the market to the downside. If some of you may be familiar in the stock market, you can short stocks, meaning you're selling a stock that you don't actually own. You're essentially selling that from the broker's inventory. You've got to have a margin account, but that can be very dangerous. If you want the market to crash and burn if you are short selling. If the market goes up, as there's been a very long bull market in the stock market, you could get hammered. Another way to play the market to the downside is to play options, what we call put options. The challenge with put options is that they expire. So the market could move in the direction you think it's going to move, which is down, but it may not move in the time frame that you were hoping it was going to move. And so you could be right on the direction of the move, but wrong on the time, and you can lose money. In the Forex, you can play the market to the upside. You can play the market to the downside. In the Digi space, we're still very early on in trading. We're very early on in this entire space to start with, all right? And so we don't have some of the same instruments that we can use in other markets to play the market to the downside the way we could do in other markets. So what we want to do in this market is when the market is going down, when we're in a bear market, if we get a signal to get out of the market, we are selling assets. Let's say we're selling out of our Bitcoin, and we're moving over to an asset that is pegged to the U.S. dollar. Right now, that would be the USDT. There are a couple of other assets that are pegging themselves to the dollar that we may also move a portion of our resources into. So here's a good example. All right. We got a sell signal right here. Was that the one, February 21st? Yeah, we got a sell signal right here, okay? And this gets us out of the market, all right? We actually got a buy signal at 8,800. Let's go to my PowerPoint. All right, this is just way of review for those of you that might be new or you've not heard this enough to where it has already clicked for you. So we're out of the market. We got in the market here with a buy. We got out of the market here with a sell, and we move over to an asset that's pegged to the U.S. dollar. That asset is called USDT or Tether. All right, the trading symbol is USDT. The name of the asset is Tether. All right, so what happens is we miss all of this calamity. So this strategy is defensive in nature first. 3 rules of trading. 1, do not lose money. 2, Patricia, doggone it, you work way too hard for that money. You'd better not lose it. And then 3, Stephen, now that we're not losing money, now let's look to make money. Okay? So we're not going to, any return we get is icing on the cake. What we want to do is we want to safeguard against a calamity like this. Again, if we go back to last year, all right, we don't know when the market's going to take off. This is not new with Bitcoin. We've been in Bitcoin since 2014. August was the first. August of 2014 was our first purchase in Bitcoin. Bitcoin was going for $515 a Bitcoin. That was my first transaction. Well, we saw over about an 18-month period Bitcoin come down. All right, even went under 200. Now, had I known then what I know now, I would have been loading up. Okay, and long term, Bitcoin will likely go. Some pundits are saying $250,000 a Bitcoin by 2020. Some are saying $1 million a Bitcoin by 2025. So some would say, well, why don't we just buy right now? Why don't we just keep buying? Well, because we're in a bear market, we don't know how low she's going to go. Now, if you've got resources, where you can buy a few $100s a month worth of Bitcoin and it's not going to hurt your family, yeah, I'd be a buyer. But I'm going to assume that someone that's following us doesn't have that yet. And so they need a strategy that is defensive in nature first to protect their Digi value, because we want to make sure that we have enough in the kitty, enough in our account that they haven't gotten beaten up, slapped around so badly, so that if this happens, all right, September, you see this, all right, Bitcoin was at in the 3,000s down here, and then from September till December, she goes from 3,000 to 20,000. She's 6 times. She grew by a factor of 6 from September to December. 3 months, 4 months, she grew by a factor of 6. But we've got to have our Digi value so that when we have this next bull run, we don't have a $10,000 account that's got beaten up and we lost 70% or 80% of its value because we're just sitting there holding, praying that the market's going to go in our favor. All right, so we've got a strategy that says what we're going to do is when we get a sell signal, we're going to get the heck out of Dodge. We're going to be disciplined. We're going to wait until we get a new buy signal. In this case, we got out of Bitcoin on February the 22nd. We stayed out of Bitcoin until April the 19th. That requires a lot of discipline. But we sidestepped what was a 37% decline in value. We didn't lose that 37%. We get back in with a buy signal, and we get back out with the next sell signal. So whenever we get a sell signal, win or lose, we're out. And then we stay out until we get a buy signal. Okay? So let's talk about our most recent buy signals. And we're going to go through the 12 assets that we trade. Whoops, wrong one. The 12 assets that we trade with this particular strategy. Okay? So with this strategy, all of our assets we're trading against USDT. So when we're not in the market, we're sitting in USDT, Tether. That is a proxy for the US dollar. So you'll often hear me refer to this as a cash equivalent. Okay? So let's look at our number one asset, Bitcoin. Our last sell on Bitcoin was June the 10th, so not that long ago. Bitcoin was going for $67.87 at the time. We got a sell signal. We sold Bitcoin. We move over to a cash equivalent USDT. We're sitting there in cash. We're not susceptible now, Michael, to the fluctuations up or down of the market because we're sitting, Sandra, in a dollar pegged asset. Now, here's what we want to avoid. The market, after we sold, came down as low as 61.18. We don't know when the market is going down. We have no idea how far down she's going to go. We don't want to step in and catch a falling knife. Now, again, if you have the resources and you're saying, well, I want to buy some Bitcoin every week or every month or what have you, that's cool. All right, that's a totally different strategy. Totally different strategy. So I'm not foo-fooing on someone who's got the resources that says, hey, Bitcoin was 10 grand, it was 15 grand, it was 20 grand. I know it may go down even further, but I want to buy some and dollar cost average. That's a totally different strategy. All right. What I'm talking about is if you're either new to the marketplace, so you weren't one of the ones that bought Bitcoin at $500. You weren't one of the ones that bought Bitcoin at $100. So my $500 purchase of Bitcoin, let's say if you had been holding on to it, you're feeling pretty good. But if you bought it at 15,000 last year, or 17, or 18, or 19, or 20, or 11,000 a couple months ago, you're not too happy. And so we want to protect your value so that when we come out of the bear market and we're now in a bull market's going up, bear market, the market is going down. okay, that you have enough value so that if there's prayerfully another explosion, which this is what happens in this space, ladies and gentlemen, there are mountain peak experiences, there are valley low experiences. If we can deal with the valley low experiences and stay in the game, then when we have those mountain peak experiences, that's when you'll really see, ah, man, I am so glad I was a part of Digi Millionaires. I'm talking with one of the top leaders in NetQube not long ago, and she was into Bitcoin in 2017 when the market was riding high. She got slapped around, and she basically has not gone into her account. The idea of going into her account and seeing what her account used to look like, buying and holding, and what it looks like now is just, ugh. Okay, that's what we want to prevent. Now she's excited again because she sees, there's an approach now to when the market is going down. And we're the only one talking about this. NetQube will have the only system right now that's talking about what do we do when the market goes down. All right, so the market went down another 9.86%. It's off of those lows now, but we don't know how low she's going to go. Remember, first rule of trading, do not lose money. Second rule of trading, doggone it, you better not lose that money, Robert. Work too hard for that money. Vernetta, you work too hard for that money. And then the third rule, now that we're not losing money, let's make money. All right, so we got a buy signal. And in the auto trade system, it's not yet in NetQube. That's being programmed. I know Dan was on the phone with the auto trade folks today. They had a conference call today, and John. So that's moving along very, very well. All right, but we've been testing it outside of the system, bringing it now into NetQube, and it works perfectly fine for what we'll call tier 2. Still have to test it, still in the testing mode with tiers 3 and tier 4. All right, so we got a buy signal just a few days ago on Bitcoin at 67.10.90. 67.10.90. All right, so we jump back in into Bitcoin. Here's the cool thing is we sold it at 67.87. We now move over to USDT. The market comes all the way down to 61.18. That did not impact us at all. And we got a buy signal where we were actually able to buy a little less than what we originally sold it for. So you've heard buy low, sell high. We like buy low, sell high, buy lower if the market works with us, okay? Now, this is what will happen when tier 1 opens up is when we get that buy signal, we will, let's say tier 1 and tier 2 are here now. We will go and place that trade in the auto trade system. So anyone once tier 2 is available and you have tier 2, you'll have that auto traded. You're not going to send your money to NetQube, NQ Holdings, or Digi Millionaires. You're going to open up your own trading account, and then we'll walk you through how to have your account so that our master account can communicate with it. We'll place the trade in the master account, and that account will be mirrored in your account for those of you who do tier 2 once it's available. Whether you do tier 2 or not, in tier 1, we're going to give you this alert. All right, so we would have written this up to tell you, hey, we bought in at 67.10.90, and we even show you because we'll use for our in the auto trade, we'll have a model account, and we'll actually even do a screenshot where you'll see the exact price we got in at. But then we'll also issue a buy up to price. Now, what is this? This says, okay, now for a moment, let's set tier 2 aside. Let's forget about tier 2 for just a moment. We're tier 1, all right? So you're tier 1, you get a Digi alert, but by the time you see that alert, the price could have moved. It could be higher, it could be lower. We don't know what it's going to be. So what we're going to always do is looking at a number of factors. We're going to determine what's the most, given this current market condition, what's the most we would pay for that asset. And then that's what we're going to say, hey, buy up to, in this case, 68, 78, 76. If it gets beyond that, I don't want to pay any more than that. Sure, I would love for you to get it at 67, 10, 90 or better. So right now, for instance, if we go to, she's come down just as in the past hour or so, because she was a little bit above our initial buy price. So right now, Bitcoin is going for 66.34. So you could actually buy it at a better price than what we got it for. We'll let you know what price we got it for. We'll give you a buy up to price, meaning, hey, we would not pay any more than this amount for this particular asset. Don't chase. Don't chase. Okay? We're in a down market now, so you'd be at a better price. But when we're not in the down market, don't chase. If it means that that you didn't get in on that particular trade, that's okay, because there'll be other ones. There are 12 assets that we're going to call buy and sell signals on based on this strategy, based on this defensive strategy. Okay? So don't chase. So stay within, well, I can't tell you what to do. I can't, you big boys and big girls, I wouldn't chase. How about that? So anytime we put a buy up to price, what I'm saying is this the most I would pay for that asset. Okay? Let's look at Ethereum. Ethereum also gave us a buy. Now, we're in a different market now. Because normally, if you get a buy on Bitcoin and Ethereum, that will tend to lift all boats. But again, we're in a down market. All right, we're in a bear market, and we're in the summertime, where we've got this consolidation phase, and that tends to happen a lot of times in the summertime. The market is moving much slower than what it normally does. All right, so we sold Ethereum. The last time we sold her was on June the 10th. She was going for $530.27 when we sold her. Since then, she's come down as low as $449.06. Again, but we don't know how low she's going to go. So when we get a sell signal, win or lose or draw, we're getting out of the market. Okay? So we got out of the market. She went down to $449.06. We were sitting over safely on the sidelines. She came down, from the 530 sell point to the low during this time frame. She was down another 15.31%. When we logged into our account, we didn't see being down another 15.31%. Why? Because we were sitting safely on the sidelines. Number one, do not lose money. Number two, you better not lose money. Once we have a good handle on 1 and 2, then we can focus on making money. All right, we re-entered her at 517.72 on June the 18th. And our buy up to price is 543.61. So we wouldn't want to pay more than 543.61. And let's see where she is right now. All right, let's go to, I'm in Binance because that's the this is the biggest exchange in the world right now, based on its average daily volume. Number two, this is the exchange that we're going to use for our auto trade systems. All right, and I'm under USDT. And let's go to ETH. All right, so we got her at 517, and you can see that today she got as high as 544, but she's come down. The market's moving down right now. All right, nothing major, no big deal. We do want to see, Bitcoin is the bellwether. We'd like to see Bitcoin stay above the 6,450 to 6,500 area. So I doubt that we're going to see any more buy signals tonight. Our signals come in late. All right. So I wouldn't get a signal until after we got off the webinar, and I doubt we're going to have any new buy signals as the market's giving back just a little bit here. Okay. So we got in at 517, and she's at 514. All right. She's at 514. You can see the price right there, 514. Okay. Give me a moment. All right, so well within our buy up to price. Now listen. If you are one of our beta testers and you're self trading, that's cool because you got access to our beta test back office where we're communicating with you outside of the webinars. For the rest of you, if you don't know what you're doing, if you aren't already seasoned in trading, then I'm going to strongly recommend that you just follow these trades, that you don't place any trades, because right now I don't have a way to communicate with you as to whether or not we are still in that trade. If we get a sell signal, for instance, tonight, I doubt we will, but if we were to get a sell signal on Bitcoin tonight, we'd get out of the trade. And if you did not have access to that information, you may stick in a trade that we're actually out of. And so I would strongly recommend that you not take the trade. You're just kind of be an onlooker right now. Okay. And again, you're a big boy, you're a big girl. You can decide to do whatever you want to do. But that would be my suggestion to you. Okay. All right. So we got in at 517. She's just under that. And you can see once again, she's had a low today of 510. She's had a high today of 544. So, she was definitely moving in our direction. Those of you that know what you're doing, in particular, if you're with the beta, you can get her a little bit better price than what we did. Okay, the third buy signal we had was on Bitcoin Cash. And depends on the exchange you're using. Some will render it as BCC as the trading symbol. Binance does BCC. Some will do BCH. So just be mindful of that. Each exchange, some exchanges may have it as BCH. Okay. We sold her at 972 on June the 10th. She came all the way down to 798.27 from the time that we sold her, down another 17.87%. We missed that calamity. We got a buy signal on her 2 nights ago at 870. Now you know what the buy up to price means. This is the most we would pay, $913.50. Let's take a look at her. Now I will tell you, Bitcoin Cash is very volatile. I mean, she can have some really big moves. So you can see here, we got her at 870, and she's at 846 now. Her low was 842, so she's just off of her lows. And her high today was 905. So once again, well within our buy up to price, and actually a better price than what we got her for. Okay, 870. Now, we don't sweat that she's down whatever she's down. We'll take a look. We'll see if we have a sell signal. It's very unlikely that we would have a sell signal on her at this point. Very unlikely. But if we get a sell signal, guess what? We get out. Well, what if you're going to take a loss? Here's why. Here's why we would rather get out, take a small loss, than to stay in. She came down to 798.27. We sold her at 972. She came down to 798.27. She was down almost another 18%. We don't want to have an 18% drawdown because we don't know if that's going to be the low or not. We don't have a crystal ball. We don't know. So we're going to be defensive in nature first. 1, don't lose money. 2, you better not lose money. 3, now that we're not losing money, let's look to make money. Okay? All right, so now let's go through the rest of our assets. And we don't have buy signals on these yet. And I doubt that we're going to get buy signals as the market is coming down. Okay, I doubt it. At least not tonight. It could happen tomorrow, or the next day, or what have you. Normally, what happens is if we get a buy on Bitcoin and Ethereum, we normally have the other assets following, and sometimes there'll be some assets that will lead Bitcoin or even Ethereum. Okay, but normally, if Bitcoin and Ethereum are our buys, they will normally lift all boats. But again, the market has been finicky. She's been really slow. She's been in what we would call a consolidation pattern, and we'll talk about that in just a few moments. Okay, so we're not in Ripple now. We're not in Ripple. However, we did sell her at 59 cents on the last time we sold her. She's come down as low as 50 cents. So she's been down as much as 14.6 cents. Percent since we last sold her. And we're waiting on the sidelines. We're waiting for a new buy signal. Let's see where she is right now. Okay, XRP is at trading symbol. She's at 52 cents. So we sold her at 59. We sold her at 59. She came down to about 50 cents. And now she's at 52 cents. Okay. She's at 52 cents. So we're glad we got out of her at 59. We have sidestepped that further drawdown. Okay. Let's look at, hopefully as we're going through this, and you'll notice that my delivery is a lot different on a Thursday night webinar than a Tuesday night webinar. Tuesday night we're teaching, but there's a little promotion in there as well. Thursday night, everyone that's going to be on our Thursday night webinars are going to be those that are already Digi Millionaire subscribers. They may not be in NetQube because a person doesn't have to be in NetQube to be a Digi Millionaire subscriber. It just makes financial sense for them to be in NetQube, because if a person is a cuber, is a brand advocate that then gets Digi Millionaires, they become their own customer. They earn boy, that birdie just flew. What do we get? Cubes. There we go. All right, which basically becomes a rebate. All right, tier 1 is going to be 2 cubes. Tier 2 will include tier 1. That'll be 4 cubes. Tier 3 will include tiers 1, 2, and 3. That'll be 6 cubes. Tier 4 will include all tiers. That'll be 8 cubes. Okay. All right. Let's look at EOS. EOS, we saw at 11.68. She's come down as low as $9.12. So we sidestepped 21.92%. We're waiting for the next buy signal. Let's see where she is right now. She's at $10. And again, we sold her at, 11.68. Now, most other trading systems, what would have happened is you'd have bought EOS. Let's say if you were using a trading robot, you would have bought EOS at 11.68. And if you didn't hit your price target, you would still be in EOS. Most trading robots, for instance, are you can actually close the trade if you want. But most trading robots are set up to where, at least the ones that are marketed through some type of marketing opportunity, where they don't close the trade. If you're in the negative, they don't close the trade. The problem with that, as we discussed on last week, is what you want to do in trading is you want to cut your losses short, but allow your profits to run. Cut your losses short, but allow your profits to run. Most trading robots are programmed to do the exact opposite. They are designed to take micro profits, but don't close out the trade and just hold on and hope that it comes back. And if you're buying really good assets, that's not an awful strategy. That strategy works a lot better in a bull market. That strategy doesn't work nearly as well in a bear market, because this asset that you refuse to get to close out can continue to lose value. And unlike this marketplace is very volatile, and then that volatility can work in our favor. But if we're not skilled, if we're not disciplined, it can certainly work against us. Okay. All right. So, she has been down as much as she went down to $9.12, and now she's at $10.13, and we got out at $11.68, and we await a new buy signal. Litecoin sold at 114.05. Look at this. She came all the way down to 86.71. I personally didn't think we would see Litecoin under $100 again. I remember when we really started immersing ourselves into the trading aspect, Litecoin was going for like $14. I think my first trade on Litecoin was like maybe at 14. And we've seen Litecoin, gosh, how far has she gone? Moment, let me take a look. Litecoin has been up as high as 370, and now she's down. All right, she's down to 93.71 now. She's gotten as low since we got out of her. We sold her at 114.05, and she's gotten as low as 86.71. So from the 114.05 to the low of 86.71, that was down another 23.97%. This is what we're wanting to avoid. We're wanting to avoid these types of drawdowns in our account, because we don't know. We didn't know that we didn't know where she was going to go. We didn't know that she was going to go below 100, much less go down to 86.71. But when she's at 86.71, we don't know. And I remember, particularly in my early years trading in the stock market, and then even when I got into Forex, I remember, let's say in the stock market, I remember saying, okay, I got into the stock market at a huge bull run with the .coms. So I saw some of these stocks and was trading some of these stocks that were $100, $200 stocks. And so let's take a $200 stock, and now it's down to $150, and you're saying, okay, all right, well, I'm still in it. She's got to turn around. She can't go any lower. Say you bought it at 200, all right, and now she's down to 100. Well, she can't go any lower. Well, listen, there were a bunch of those .coms that went lower, that went to zero. I held a few of those, okay? So we learned, we don't know. We don't have a crystal ball. We don't have a crystal ball, okay? When we get a sell signal, we're going to get the heck out of Dodge. Sit over in USDT. Well, what if the market doesn't go down and it goes back up? Well, if we get another buy signal, we come back into the market. And it's likely that some of our assets here will still be able to buy in at a lower price than what we sold out for. Okay? We will get the lion's share of the upside move. Because if the market turns around, all right, after there's enough evidence, we're going to get a buy signal. So if there's a big, huge move in the market, we're going to get the lion's share of it. But what we're wanting to avoid is we want to avoid the lion's share of any loss or decline in value. Okay? NEO. We sold NEO at $49.58. Now, we had a trade on NEO before. We bought NEO in a buy-sell cycle at 49, sold it at 70. Then we got a buy signal on NEO. We sold it at 70, and NEO decided to just keep going up. Got into the 90s. We got a buy signal at 85. We bought NEO at 85. It was a head fake. And then a few days later, we get a sell signal at 80. I did not want to close that trade. We had just gotten a buy signal a few days earlier. The other assets were in a buy. NEO was down $80. We were down to $80. We were down 5%. I am telling you, I did not want to close that trade. But I've got to, because I've got to be disciplined. I've got to, because the moment I start giving in to, I got this gut feeling, then the moment we stop trading based on a trading plan, and that's when you get in trouble. When you go by a hunch. You know what a hunch is? It's that as a recovering hopium addict. Because in the stock market and my early days in trading in the Forex, boy, I got hooked on hopium. I'm hoping it's going to go my direction. And I didn't want to close out trades. In the stock market or in the Forex market, you can have something called a stop loss, where let's say you buy an asset at $10 and you put a stop loss at $9. It says, if the market comes down to $9, get me the heck out of Dodge. It's designed to avoid any catastrophic loss. A lot of times what happens is that traders will move their stop loss. They get the asset at 10. They have a stop loss at 9. If it comes down to 9, it kicks me out. I lose on the trade, but I live to trade another day. I safeguard the majority of my asset base. But then what happens is a lot of times undisciplined traders, when they see that the asset is at $9.05, guess what they do? They move their stop loss from 9 down to 8.50. And then it comes down to 8.60, and then they move their stop loss down even further. That was the undisciplined style of trading that I did for years. So now I know, son, I'm on a webinar. So now, after years of trading, we've learned to be disciplined. It took us a long time to get there. We got to follow the plan, even if the plan means we take a loss. So we bought NEO at 85. We get a sell signal at 80. We sell out. We take a 5% loss. NEO comes all the way down into the 40s. Thank goodness we followed the trading plan. And that's the purpose of this strategy, is to keep us out of harm's way as much as possible. Are we going to take losses? Yes. Are those losses going to be as big as they could be if we had stayed in and taken the drug hopium? In most cases, our losses would be far less than the overall market. Okay. So we sold this last time. We sold at 49.58, and we've seen her come down to 35.72. That's been another almost 28%. We're waiting for the next buy signal. Let's see where she is right now. Oh, thank goodness. She's at 36.70. Thank goodness. We sold out of her at 49 and some change. Are you starting to see? Are you starting to see why this, if you are going to be in this space, I promise you, if you are not a Digi millionaire, you will so regret it, because you will lose in value what our Digi millionaires will safeguard. When we get to strategies, when we get to tiers 3 and 4, those strategies are designed to grow your account even faster. Tier 2 auto trade is based on this strategy, designed to safeguard your account as much as possible. And when we have winners, we have moderate winners. Now, when we get into a bull market, we'll have kick butt winners. We might be in the market for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months at a time. And we'll get the lion's share of those moves. Tier 3 and 4 have different strategies that are designed to grow your account. All right. But one thing I will say, I was yesterday I was on the phone with the lead guy. Tiers 3 and 4. There's a trading team. They have 24-hour coverage of the markets. I've been saying 5 days a week. I wanted to confirm that it was 5, and he said no, 7 days a week. No, 7 days. We've got coverage of the market 7 days. But the last couple of weeks, they had done very few trades because we had been in a down cycle. We just got back into the market a couple days ago. Meaning, with our strategy, what I'm talking to you about now. And so he and his trading team had been trading very sparsely over the past couple of weeks because the marketplace had been down. And that's what we want. See, one of the challenges I had when I was testing a particular trading robot was in a down market, it was no more discriminating in a down market than it was in an up market. And it just kept taking trade after trade after trade after trade. And I was like, I wouldn't be trading in this market. I'd be out. And this robot just keeps trading and trading and trading and trading and trading. And then someone might say, well, hey, you can just shut the robot off. But what if you're introducing this to a group of folks? Let's say because it was in a marketing company, you're looking to build the team, and the new guyette that comes aboard and gets the robot doesn't know to turn it off. So their robot, when it's a down market, so their robot just keeps trading and trading, and they just keep going underwater and underwater and underwater and underwater. Still waiting a buy signal. We have avoided a 28% decline here. IOTA. IOTA is a new asset from the standpoint of the auto trade system. And the reason is we need a couple things for us to be able to trade it in an auto trade system. Number one, excuse me for coughing in your ear. It's got to be something we can trade in Binance versus the US dollar. Versus the USDT. Okay. And it was just added. Secondly, it's got to be something that we can trade or at least put on our Forex charting system, because that's what spits out our buy and sell signals. And so the Forex platform that we use for the system, it has 12 assets that we can trade against the USDT, but only 8 of those right now trade in Binance. The other ones can be traded in another exchange. Well, they just added IOTA to the mix. So far, we've not done any buy or sells in the auto trade platform. We did get a buy signal, but by the time the buy signal came in, the asset had a huge run, and the rest of the market was down. So we chose not to take that trade, and that was a smart move because at the time it was going for about $1.80, and here is IOTA now at $1.13. So when I talk about, there will be times that will be subjective in not entering a trade, or maybe we get a buy signal, but we don't go in with the full allotment that we normally would of the trade because of the market conditions. When I'm talking about not being subjective is when we get a sell signal. When we get a sell signal, we get out. We get out because we don't want that to breathe life into that old man, that old hopium addict. Okay. So we didn't take that trade. We would have bought her at about 180 at the time, and we would have sold out. We would have had a loss likely. Now she's down to 110. Okay. Now these 8 here I'll go over these real quickly, not all the numbers, but just the assets. These are the 8 that will be traded in the auto trade. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, Ripple, EOS, Litecoin, Neo, and IOTA. Now, these other assets are not going to be traded in the auto trade system, but we will still send out alerts on them. If and when they are added to Binance to trade against USDT, then they'll be added to the auto trade system. All right, digital cash, or what is known as Dash. You can trade this against USDT in Bittrex or Poloniex. There's a few other exchanges. We will typically talk about 3 exchanges now. We might add a 4th and a 5th down the road, but they're going to be Binance, number 1, Bittrex, and then Poloniex. Okay, so when I say a self-directed asset, I mean that's not something that we can trade in the auto trade system, even if we wanted to right now. Okay, even if the auto trade system was live and kicking inside of NetQube right now. All right, last sell on this was at 326.17. Since then, you see why this is so important? She's come down to 239.32. She's been down 26%. We've sidestepped that. Now, she's not in Binance, so I can go over to Poloniex, and she's at 257. So we sold her at 326. And now she's at 257. Okay. Monero. Again, right now won't be a part of the auto trade system. But Dash and Monero, these are assets that long term, I definitely want these assets in my portfolio. They also trade in Bittrex and Poloniex. They don't trade in Binance versus the USDT. They do trade Dash, Monero, trade against Bitcoin and against Ethereum, but with this strategy, we're not trading against Bitcoin and Ethereum. We sold her at 147. She's been as low as 112. We sidestep a 23.45% down surge there, and let's see where she is right now. She's at 121. We sold her at 147. She's at 121 right now. Omis Go. Not going to find her in Poloniex. You will find her in Bittrex. Boy, I think her high was like 28 and some change. We sold her at 1028. She's come down as low as 858. 16.54% return. You won't find her in Poloniex. You'll find, not a return, excuse me. She's down 16.54% since we sold her. So what I'm hoping you're getting, especially if you're newer with us, is, my gosh, if we had held on to her, like so many folks, we'd be down here another 16%. Now, she might be off of her lows now, but imagine if you're going into your account like the big NetQube leader I was talking with the other day, who, when the market was great, she said, this thing can be addictive. I was in there all the time and I was making trades, and I didn't know her to be a trader, so I don't know that she really knew what she was doing, other than, you didn't have to be skilled in 2017. Just like you didn't have to be skilled in 1998 and 1999. If you put a blindfold on and you threw money at .coms, you probably made money. You saw your stock portfolio grow. But then when we hit a bear market, when we hit a bear market this year, you got to be skilled. You got to know what you're doing, and disciplined. I don't need you to be the skilled person. That's where I come in. That's where our other traders are going to come in. I do need you to be disciplined. So, for instance, if you're going to follow our alerts in a self-directed manner, meaning you're going to place those trades yourself, If we say, hey, we got the heck out of Dodge, I can't tell you that you have to get the heck out of Dodge, but I'm telling you, I got out. I am not given an alert that I did not trade in my family's account. If I give you an alert, it's because we traded it in our family's account. So whether we made money on that, we made money together. If we lost money on that, we lost money together. Okay? 1028, 858. Let's see. Got to go to Bitrix to see her. OMG, where are you? Am I missing you? There we go. I'm not logged in, so hopefully I can get the info. $8.85 last trade on her. And we got out at 1028. So she's not too far off of her lows. And then the last asset is Zcash. We've not done any official alerts on her just yet, but she will be one of our assets. You'll find her in Bitrix. Well, you'll find her also in Poloniex. If you have a Bitrix account or will be getting a Bitrix account, you will be able to you'll be able to self-trade all of these 12 assets. All these 12 assets you will find trading against USDT in Bitrix. Wait a minute. You may not have IOTA. Let me see. Let's see if IOTA trades against USDT. You may not have IOTA. You don't. Okay. But if you've got a Binance account and a Bitrix account, you've got a Binance account and a Bitrix account, you'll have full coverage of these 12 assets. Although IOTA does not trade in Bitrix, it does trade in Binance. Okay? I've got 8 minutes. Let's see here. Okay, so in that 8 minutes, let's just go to CoinMarketCap real quickly. I'm going to refresh the screen. My mom's not going to like seeing all those sixes together like that. All right, so a couple things here. All right, in CoinMarketCap.com, this is something I would go to on a day-to-day basis. All right, so we've given you the 12 assets we're going to be trading. There's over 1,100 and some assets, or 1,600 some assets on here. I wouldn't try to learn 1,600 assets. Okay. And even if you don't remember, and we don't have a place to post things if you're not a part of our beta group just yet, but this will be posted in the site once Tier 1 is ready to go. You'll know what these assets are, all right? And one of the things I would do is I would go to CoinMarketCap every day, even if I'm going to be in the auto trade systems, and I just start familiarizing myself with these 12 assets: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, Bitcoin Cash, EOS, Litecoin. All right, so 6 of the 12 are in the top 6 right now. IOTA, all right, is one of our 12. Neo is one of our 12. Dash, Monero. So most of these are going to be in your top 25. There's Zcash right there. And just start looking at how they move. Okay? Get a sense of over a 24-hour period, a 4% move down. If you're new, you may say, oh man, that's a lot. In this marketplace, that's nothing. That's nothing. All right. The last 7 days, the market's not done anything hardly. Bitcoin and Ethereum up slightly. Some of these assets ripples down 5%. In a 7-day period, that's nothing. If she was up 5%, that's nothing in this marketplace. In this marketplace, okay? 5% can be a big move in the stock market. A 10% move up or down can be a big move in the stock market. Not in this marketplace, not for 7 days. We'll often see times when the market is, an asset is up or down 7, 8, 9, 10, 12%, even more in a day. All right. So one thing we've got to get used to in this marketplace is things will be more volatile. Yet right now, comparatively speaking, with comparing this market, Digi market, to itself, this is really a slow time. This is like watching paint dry. And let me show you what I mean. We're getting some sales here. You see that big red candle here? That's on Litecoin. Okay, so look at the size of some of these candles. Let's look at this blue one here. I remember seeing that this happened in like an hour's time. Bitcoin went up, blue candle, went up by about 1,000 points in 1 hour. You get 1,000 point move on the Dow in a day. It is huge, huge news. That's not that big of a deal with Bitcoin because that happens. Likewise here, this big move here was Bitcoin went down 1,000. It happens. But you can see here the last few days, Bitcoin's not moved that much. So this candle here was actually recreated at about 5 p.m. New York time. So each of these candles, all right, a new candle starts 5 p.m. New York time on this particular chart. So this candle here actually was today, before 5 p.m. New York time. This candle here is after 5 p.m. New York time, the start of a new trading day based on this particular chart. Different charts, different systems you're using will have different end of day time periods and beginning of day time periods. So today, Bitcoin only moved about 100 points, $100. That's a very small move for Bitcoin. Yesterday, Bitcoin moved about 250. The day before, Bitcoin moved from high. I'm going from high to low. Bitcoin moved less than 200. Those are small moves for Bitcoin. This one right here, Bitcoin moved about 450. So a 400, 500 point move is like, oh hum. A 200 point move either way, whether it was up or down, is like, really? That's all you did today? 1,000 point move, we see that, we see that from time to time. So let me finish with this. Right now, we're in a point of consolidation where we're not getting a huge range of Bitcoin movement. From its low the other day of 6,100, which was this right here, to its high since then, which would be right here. You see that little wick? And she got up to 6830. All right, so that is a very narrow range for Bitcoin, 6,100 to 6,800, a 700 point move in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, going on 9.5 trading days. That's a very, very narrow range for Bitcoin. So here's what typically happens. When you have a point of consolidation where there's not much movement, the longer that happens, the bigger the explosion will tend to be. You got a can of Coke or a can of Pepsi, you shake it up, the top is on it, you shake it up. When that lid comes off, what happens? Explosion. We saw here. We saw Bitcoin move in a range. Now the ranges were bigger. All right, there were bigger ranges, but it still was in a range of about, let's see, 800. Let's see, the low was 64, and this high up here was. All right, so this was about an 1,100 point range over a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Over a 2-week period, Bitcoin stayed in an 1,100 point range, which for Bitcoin is tame for about 2 weeks, and then explosion. I saw this. I was like, what? Somebody had been shaking the can of Pepsi or Coke, and then the top came off. And then she had a nice run up. That was in April. So most of April, this is when we had in our buy-sell cycle, we had just over a 30% month. And then you can see here, there's a little point of consolidation. She lifted up. She hit some resistance. Boom. Little point of consolidation right here. She decided she wanted to go down. Boom. All right, some consolidation right here. She decided she wanted to go down. Boom. Okay. Now, we don't know. When we have this consolidation, we don't know if she's going to go up or if she's going to go down. As long as we're in a buy, we stay in a buy, because this could happen. She could explode up. If she explodes down like she did right here, we'll get a sell signal, and we may take a loss. But we're going to be disciplined, because eventually we're going to have this type of action where the market runs up maybe a few hundred to a few thousands of points. I mean, from here, 64.18, to this height up here, just under 10,000, the market went up almost 50%. And that's when we'll have some really nice runs even in the bear market. Okay? I have exhausted my time. So, Queen, how about we go on and we take some Q&A? We're going to do 15 minutes of Q&A. Yeah, someone said watching paint dry for sure. Yep, been watching paint dry. This is where you got to be disciplined. Hey, Queen, are you there to unmute? And let's take 15 minutes of Q&A.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, all right. I'm ready when you are. Remind me to repeat the question, because you will, unfortunately, for some reason, you've been coming in a little faint on our recording. So I want to make sure folks hear the question that we're providing an answer to.
Okay. If you ask questions earlier than now, you need to put them in the questions box again. Why not XLM?
The XLM is Stellar Lumens. I love that asset. She's not on my Forex charting. So there will be assets. It's my Forex charting, what you don't see, because I'm never going to show this on screen. This is my secret sauce. That's going to fire our buy and sell signals. Now, what we'll do is we will use... Right now I'm talking about the auto trade system, and if you want to follow this in your own trading, feel free to do so. All right, what we'll do is we will use 80% of our account value, and we will divide that as equally as we can amongst the assets that we trade in the auto trade system, all right, which are 8 assets right now, okay? All right, that leaves another 20% of account value. What we do with that 20% is either we're going to do trade adjustments, meaning, excuse me for coughing in your ear. Let's say that we're in Bitcoin, and Bitcoin has come down, but we still have a buy signal on her, and it still looks like, it's just a temporary pullback, and she may very well go up from there. Well, we may take a portion of that 20% and adjust the trade, buy some more at a lower price, thereby lowering our average cost for that asset. Or we may trade Stellar or trade Cardano as an example, because we like those assets long term, and we can trade them in Binance against USDT. We're now have to look at the Binance charts or maybe some other charting, what have you. They don't give us the same comfort level with the buy and sell signals that we have with what we use with the Forex software. And so as a result, we're not going to go in with as big of a trade with Stellar. So I hope that our Forex platform will add Stellar Lumens XLM. If so, then she'll be one of our primary assets. Right now, she's a secondary asset for this strategy. Great question. Next question.
Any projected dates for tier 2, 3, and 4?
I'm not even going to give dates for tier 1, only because I don't want to give a date and then folks miss it. And then we miss it. I know tier 1 is going to be sooner than what I thought tiers 2, 3, and 4 would be. And I would imagine that tier 2 will come online a few weeks after tier 1. 3 and 4 will be a little bit later, just because we want to have a little more time testing those. So I don't want to give any dates. I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay. Do you have any idea of the pricing structure?
I do, but I'm not at liberty to share that. We'll let Dan handle all that good stuff.
Did you get out the recording for last Thursday, I guess?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And if you're in our email list, you should have gotten that. I think we sent that out last Friday. So we sent that off. We did send that. We did send that off. Huh?
You did.
Yeah. Listen. We send those off to NetQube. All right. But NetQube's got a lot of stuff going on. So it may be a few days from the time we send it off to the time that they post it on their YouTube channel. What we've been doing is any recordings. We don't record every Tuesday night. Tuesday night is basically the same content. It's an introduction webinar so that you can start to build your business and what have you. Think of that like you would a presentation, business presentation. It's just a different flavor to provide more value. Thursday night obviously changes from week to week. Now, once we launch tier 1, we will not be sending out that for promotional purposes. That will only be for existing folks. We will have back office where we will post that content. However, since we've opened this up for this month, we have been recording these, and we have been providing a way for you to send the recording to your audience without having to send them to YouTube. Why do we want to keep you from sending folks to YouTube? Because if you're not the content creator, you stand a great chance of losing your prospect to someone else that is a content creator, that has their own channel with their link there. So you send your prospect to YouTube, they see the other videos on the right-hand side, they click on one of those videos, somebody who's a good content creator, they resonate with them, and they see their link and they join them instead of joining you. We want to keep your prospects as much as possible away from YouTube. So make sure, and you should be in our email list if you're on this webinar link. Okay. However, if you just went to NetQube and went in your back office and clicked on the webinar link there, you wouldn't be in our email list. So here's how you get on the email list. All right. We're never going to send out any personal referral links here. HTTP. There's no S on this one. Okay. Digi netwebinars.com. diginetwebinars.com. When you subscribe there, you'll be in our email list. and then we send out this content in a way that it's not on YouTube, and in a way that the person would be coming back to you, because we've got a call to action that says get back to the person that referred you to this video, so on and so forth. Now, ultimately, when we have tier one, it may not be right away when we have tier one, but when we have tier one, there's going to be content, training content, follow-up content that you're going to be able to share with your audience, that's going to have a call to action button that leads them directly to your site to join you in NetQube, or to join you in Digi Millionaires, or both at the same place. But you're not going to have to say, hey, after you watch this, now come back to me, or what have you. That'll be embedded in. Next question.
Have you heard of the IBM backed coin, the platform coming?
Have I heard of what now?
Heard about an IBM backed coin.
Bat?
Have a platform.
Did you say bat?
Back.
IBM.
IBM is back.
Oh, IBM. I don't know. I mean, I read so much stuff, and there's so many big boys and big girls, big companies that are doing something with blockchain. I don't know if it was an IBM deal that I saw, or some other big company that I saw. Whatever it is, I'm not obviously all that familiar with.
Okay.
Next question.
If you only have a few $100s to start with, are you better off buying I'm not sure what the cheaper ones are.
Buying the what? The cheaper what?
I guess it's cheaper ones. That's all.
Okay, so all right, so it sounds like they're saying, hey, I only have a few $100. Am I better off trading those assets that are lower in price as opposed to a $6,700, what have you? That's what I'm going to assume. I said $6,700 because that's what. Okay. Yeah, what I would do if I've got a smaller account, all right, and let's say you're doing self-directed trades, okay. And I don't know what is, when they say a few $100 or what have you. Yeah, what I would pay attention to is I would pay attention to those assets first that are lower in price, because those tend to move more, and they can give us a bigger percentage. Now, I say that, but at the same time, Ethereum gave us a 50% return on our second to last buy sell cycle. Bitcoin Cash gave us a 99% return. So maybe I shouldn't say that. Yeah.
I mean,
you
can't really call
yeah.
it, because
We don't have a crystal ball.
Because you don't have to buy a whole coin of anything.
Yeah, you know what? So let's scratch that. You know what I would do? All right. Maybe you want to trade all 12, maybe you only want to trade 8 or what have you. All right. However many assets you decide to trade, because we're going to give alerts on 12. However many assets you decide to trade, what I would do is I would do the same thing that we do in the auto trade account. I would take my account, all right. Keep in mind with Binance or Bittrex or Poloniex or what have you, I know with Binance, I think your minimum trade would be $10 US. All right. So look, you don't even have to have a huge account. If you have $10 US times 12 assets, we're going to call trades on. That right there is $120.
Plus you want to have the Binance coin.
Okay. All right. Yes, you're absolutely right. Then you want to have Binance coin. Binance has its own coin. Okay. But when you own Binance coin, you reduce your trading expenses, your internal commissions, buying and selling. So what Binance recommends is 2.5% to 3%. By the way, Queen, we got a video for this once all this stuff launches. We'll show you how to do that and how to figure that out and what have you. Okay. So I'm going to say 3%. Let me pull up my calculator. So give me a moment. All right, so let's say 120.
$3 and change.
Okay. If you followed our money management, all right, in your own account, and let's say you were just trading this strategy, the minimum you would need so that you could trade $10 per trade, 150, and then you want to have the minimum you need is about 100, and let's call it $160 to give you a little more cushion. That would allow you to trade the minimum of $10 times 12 assets, keep 20% of your account in USDT for any trade adjustments we may make, and buy you a little bit of Binance coin. Now, I'm not suggesting you start off with $160. All right, the more you have, the better it's going to be for you, but don't hurt yourself. Don't borrow money. Don't use scared money. Money you got to have to pay the bills and what have you. Okay? So you don't have to have a huge account. So what I would say, the question was, if I only have a few $100s, should I just trade the smaller assets? And that sounds good initially, but then I'm going back and I'm saying, wait a minute. Bitcoin Cash was at $709. When we did that, our second to last buy sell cycle, Bitcoin Cash, we bought at $709. We sold out at $1,413. That was 99% return on that portion of that of the buy sell cycle, that trade. So if you were only trading the smaller assets, you'd have missed a 99% return. Ethereum was our Ripple was our second best performer, I think, at 53.7%. Well, she's under $1 asset. But then Ethereum was our third best performer, 50.4%, and she was $490 when we bought her. So I would take whatever it is I have as my budget in my account. 80% is what I would be willing to allocate initially, 80%. All right, amongst, now in your case, if you're doing 12 assets, then that would tell you if you had $1,000 account, you take 800, you divide it by $12. That's how much you want into each trade. And I would do that evenly as much as I possibly could. If you're in the auto trade, you don't have to worry about that because we do that on our end, and then that should reflect in your account. Next question.
It's actually time.
Okay.
But should we get our Binance account set up now or wait until you are ready to go in NetQube?
I would have you to wait until we're ready to go into NetQube. I want you to make sure it's set up properly. So there's no rush right now because we're not in Tier 1 just yet. We'll make sure that you're set up before we start doing alerts and all that good stuff. Okay, so I'd have you to wait.
Okay. Those 15 minutes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have been amazing. Okay, so we have a lot of work that we're doing to help get Tier 1 in the marketplace sooner rather than later. We have recorded tonight. A lot of times I try to get it out on Friday, but I also have some family things that we are. I've got some family things that take priority as well. So this may not be available tomorrow. If not, it will come out likely over the weekend. I don't do business on Saturdays. So Sunday afternoon or so is when this will likely come out. If it happens before then, great. If not, Sunday. I don't expect any buy signals tonight, just based on what I'm seeing with the market. If we get a buy signal, then we'll go on and place that in the auto trade account for those of you who are part of our beta test group. And then that beta test group, you'll also see a write-up on it. I just doubt that's going to happen because the market is down. All right, likely not going to get buy signals when the market is down. Next Tuesday, we'll be back on the same link. More of a presentation for your guests. You'll get this recorded webinar sent out via email. If you're not a part of the email list, make sure you go to diginetwebinars.com. And I think I've covered it. Love each and every one of you. Let's change the world together, starting with yours. Let's get you to Digi. My gosh. Millionaire status. Good night, everyone. Thank you, Queen.
You're welcome. Good night, everyone.